ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
And I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it.
Tonight, President Trump is back in the White House for the first time since he went to the hospital Friday because of COVID-19. He spent 3 nights being treated at Walter Reed Medical Center. As ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports, the president is tweeting he will be back on the campaign trail soon.
Having returned to the White House, President Trump is once again downplaying the threat of the coronavirus, even after he spent 3 nights in the hospital getting treated for COVID-19. President Trump departed Walter Reed Medical Center this evening, within minutes of arriving back, taking off his mask on the White House balcony. President Trump tweeting he's feeling really good, and despite undergoing experimental treatments, needing supplemental oxygen, and stating in a video Sunday that he gets it, the president saying, "Don't be afraid of COVID, don't let it dominate your life." Those words unlikely to resonate with the families of the more than 210,000 Americans who've died from the disease. Joe Biden making that point tonight, appearing on NBC for a town hall event.
210,000 people have died. You have, about 1,000 people a day getting the coronavirus, 50,000 a week. I mean, so it's a great concern. I hope no one walks away with the message thinking that it is not a problem. It's a serious problem.
After sending mixed messages about the president's health, the White House physician giving the president the all clear to leave the hospital.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7.
Returning to a White House that is now its own COVID hotspot. In total, 18 people who were around the White House and President Trump now have COVID-19. Among them, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who briefed reporters as recently as Sunday without wearing a mask. Sources now telling ABC News staffers at the White House are fearful and anxious amid the COVID outbreak. Before he even left the hospital tonight, President Trump said he'll be back on the campaign trail soon. The Trump campaign tells ABC News the president intends to participate in next week's debate with Joe Biden. Biden saying he looks forward to debating President Trump. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Walter Reed Medical Center in Maryland.
ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Purra spoke with a San Diegan familiar with the White House about the type of medical care that's available to the president there.
You know, the medical office in the White House is part of the military office.
Barry Jagoda is the author of Journeys with Jimmy Carter and Other Adventures in Media. He was an assistant to former President Carter, a television advisor when Carter ran for president. Jagoda also spent several years working with Network News. He shared with ABC 10 News what he knows of the medical facilities in the White House.
All the staff members in the White House had access to the doctors there. And, you wouldn't go there for an annual checkup, but if you had some kind of an emergency case, you could go up to the medical office and they'd help you out. If it was a serious problem, they'd say, look, you better go to the hospital.
The president will have access to what Jagoda says is similar to an emergency room after he spent 3 nights in the hospital after testing positive for COVID-19.
It can handle pretty much anything that comes up, unless it's something serious, like a serious infection, in which case that too can be handled as long as you bring in all the gear and all the testing so you can test the lungs and test the oxygen levels and that sort of thing.
However, at this point, it's unknown if that's what's being done for the president.
Because we don't really know. We're not being told what has happened. And one of the advantages to a president of going into the White House for treatment as opposed to in a hospital is that it's pretty secretive. And no one has to say anything.
According to the president's doctor, though the president may not be out of the woods yet, he's safe to return home where he'll get medical care 24/7.
There's several doctors working in the military office of the president. For example, there's one doctor that pays more attention to the first lady. And of course, there's one doctor that pays full-time attention to the president.
Anthony Purra, ABC 10 News.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the COVID-19 numbers in California are trending down, and we're doing better than most other states over the last couple of weeks.
Again, the green shows that California has fared fairly well over the last 14 days compared to other states relates to the transmission of COVID-19. You can see in those orange areas where you're starting to see an uptick, stabilization, or increase in rates of cases and positivity.
But Newsom was quick to add, we cannot let down our guard or the numbers will go back up again. The county reported 224 new cases today, bringing our total to 48,600. There were no new deaths reported. That is typical for a Monday. That number remains 803.
Everyone's just really sad and angry and heartbroken.
While San Diego remains in the red tier, many gyms and fitness centers across the county continue to struggle, operating at only 10%. And for some, it's just not enough to survive. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala shows us the difficult decisions business owners are now having to make.
I was so passionate about the fitness industry, but this has just caused such a heartache for me.
The COVID-19 pandemic has hit the fitness industry especially hard. Gyms and studios forced to shut down completely for months, then move outside, and now they're back open inside at a very limited capacity, making it impossible for some to stay afloat.
Our rent doesn't change whether we have one person in class versus 25.
Taylor Hollenkamp owned Bar Body Studios in Pacific Beach and Tierra Santa. Like many small business owners across the country, she recently had to make a painful decision.
With no end in sight of things like going back to normal, I had to make the decision to close permanently because the business is just hemorrhaging money.
And others in the San Diego fitness industry can relate.
You can't run a business. It's, you can't advertise, you can't bring in new clients.
Matt Shaley is a personal trainer and co-creator of the Strongest app, where users can track and log their workouts. He says he hasn't been able to train any of his clients in a private Carmel Valley gym since March.
I had about 25 clients that I worked with on a weekly basis. Now, I train about 9 of those clients in their homes or remotely. It's almost impossible right now in the tier that we're in to run your business at 10% capacity.
When it comes to California's reopening tier plan, San Diego is currently in the red tier, which allows gyms and fitness centers to operate inside at 10% capacity. If our COVID-19 numbers improved and we moved to the orange tier, they could open at 25% capacity. And in the yellow tier, which is considered the best, it's 50% capacity. But with no clear solutions to the loss of income or path to a full reopening, more and more small business owners are having to say goodbye to the dreams they worked so hard to make a reality.
I've been building this business for 25 years. And it goes away just like that.
This has been my career, and I don't know what I'm going to do after this.
Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
And the Chula Vista Police Department is mourning the death of a veteran officer who lost his battle with cancer. The department posted this today, honoring Officer Jason Cunningham. He was on the force for 15 years after serving 8 years in the Marine Corps. Cunningham is survived by his wife and 5 children. Our thoughts with them tonight. The epic scale of California's wildfires continues to grow. More than 4 million acres burned this year in our state, more than double the previous record. Meantime, the Glass Fire in Napa and Sonoma counties has now damaged or destroyed more than 15 wineries. That's in addition to hundreds of homes. At last report, the fire was 30% contained. The Trump administration is looking at painting part of the border wall black to make it more imposing and too hot to climb. Well, this, according to Customs and Border Protection officials overseeing the construction. The section of wall that could get repainted stretches 82 miles in the Rio Grande Valley and Laredo, Texas. The agency says it could cost an extra $1 million per mile to paint it. The administration believes the black coating could have operational benefits, such as adding a contrast against the natural surroundings of the area. A man will spend almost 7 years in prison for a deadly smuggling accident off our coast in February. The district attorney's office says Julio Cesar Murillo Arce jumped overboard when the engine failed on his Ponga with 6 people on board. The boat went into rough seas and 2 people drowned. The driver was on supervised release after a separate maritime smuggling conviction. He was sentenced to 83 months in prison.